This is a place for crazy people. I'm not crazy.
We don't use that term crazy, Mr. Cole.
We've got some real nuts here.
We have a job to do now. Let's do it.
There's been kind of a buzz lately on YouTube about AI, artificial intelligence, and in news stories and media, whatever kind you listen to. And I was immersing myself in it, only to remember a book I read in high school in the late 80s, which is a long time ago. But the book was even written longer ago. It was copywritten in 1952 by Delacorte Press, and it was written by Kurt Vonnegut. He titled it Player Piano. I just want to read a brief conversation. I suggest everybody read the book because it's fantastic, and it shows you pretty much where we're at today. Back then, he knew it, so it's just a short conversation from him and his secretary on page 14, and here we go. As Paul passed Catherine Finch's desk on the way into his office, she held out his typewritten speech. "That's very good, what you said about the Second Industrial Revolution," she said. Old stuff. It seemed very fresh to me. I mean the part where you say how the First Industrial Revolution devalued muscle work, and the second one devalued routine mental work. I was fascinated. Norbert Weiner, a mathematician, said all that way back in the 1940s. It's fresh to you because you're too young to know anything but the way things are now. Actually, it's kind of incredible that there were ever any other way, isn't it? It's so ridiculous to have people stuck in one place all day, just using their senses, then a reflex, using their senses, then a reflex, and not really thinking at all. Expensive, said Paul, and about as reliable as a putty ruler. You can imagine what the scrap heap looked like, and what hell it was to be a service manager in those days. Hangovers, family squabbles, resentments against the boss, debt, the war, every kind of human trouble was likely to show up in a product one way or another. He smiled. And happiness, too. I can remember when we had to allow for holidays, especially around Christmas. There wasn't anything to do but take it. The reject rate would start climbing around the 5th of December, and up it'd go until Christmas. Then the holiday, then a horrible reject rate, then New Year's, then a ghastly reject level. Then things would taper down to normal, which was plenty bad enough, by January 15th or so. We used to have to figure in things like that in the pricing of a product. Do you suppose there'll be a third industrial revolution? Paul paused in his office doorway. A third one? What would that be like? I don't know exactly. The first and second one must have been sort of inconceivable at one time. Well, to the people who are going to be replaced by machines, maybe. A third one, eh? In a way, I guess the third one's been going on for some time, if you mean thinking machines. That would be a third revolution. I guess machines that devalue human thinking. Some of the big computers like the EPICAC do it all right in specialized fields now. Uh-huh, said Catherine thoughtfully, as she rattled a pencil between her teeth. First the muscle work, then the routine work, then maybe the real brain work. I hope I'm not around long enough to see that final step. Speaking of industrial revolutions, where's Bud? And it goes on, and it's a great story. Speaks about the haves and the have-nots, and the mechanized society, standard paycheck for everybody just because you're alive, given to you by the government, which they're actually contemplating in the European Union, and people have been talking about that. Cashless society, assignments from birth. So, and I'm pretty sure Kurt Vonnegut was against that type of a future. I believe he loved liberty. It was bipolar, if you've ever known anything about him, or probably most of you, if anybody listens to this video, probably no one's heard of Kurt Vonnegut Jr. So leave a comment if you've read any of his stuff. I'd be fascinated to know that. So the AI in the future made me not question, but sincerely wonder if people now who are uncomfortable and reject the system as it is and have to live however they live just to stay around it or alive without being too much of a part of it, I wonder if they know it's coming, because I think it's coming, and I don't think it's going to be pretty. So anyway, thanks for listening, and I do appreciate if you have any comments.
That's the most fantastic story I've ever heard. How can you make up a thing like that? What do you know about it?